for some people to join. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us on your Thursday afternoon. Thank you so much for giving us your time. And we have a very, very interesting topic at hand today, which we'll be talking about. I'll come to a topic in a bit. First, I would like to, of course, welcome you all here. And I would like to welcome our guest speaker today, Ms. Sugandha Jain, who is the VP HR at BeatO, which is a diabetes management company startup based out of Gurgaon. And definitely a much needed service in this country. To tell you a little bit about our guest today, I am sorry I have to read this out because it's really difficult when someone with such a large amount of experience comes in to speak. It's really difficult to memorize everything. So I am going to read this out. Sugandha comes with 19 plus years of experience in the space of HR, has extensive experience in talent management, performance and rewards management, among other things. She thrives on building great places to work and an HR setup that creates conducive work culture and builds a workforce that drives the company vision. She has formerly worked with Stratmed, with Healthcart, Tata 1mg, even Wipro, EMC, TCS, Reliance. There are a lot more. Of course, 19 years covers a lot of things. So thank you so much for joining us today, Sugandha.
Thank you so much. It's been a huge honor for me to be here. Thank you so much to the Masai School for organizing this. And I'm greatly honored and excited to be around.
Oh, the honor is all ours. And the topic at hand today is, well, so onboarding is something that we talk about a lot. I mean, every time you join a new organization, the very first thing that happens is onboarding, right? Before you even start working, before you interact with anyone, you have to get onboarded. Maybe some of you who are here joining us, could you share in the chat what you think onboarding involves? What exactly is onboarding? Anyone? In the meantime, while people think about it, and I have obviously not covered everything about, tell us, Sugandha, maybe in a few words, you could tell us a little bit about yourself.
I think you've already given a great and a warm welcome to me, but I'd only add that in today's world, I think I'm very fortunate that I've had an experience wholesome enough to be around with larger companies in the first decade of my experience, powerhouses of talent and of HR processes, policies, and starting with TCS, Wipro, EMC, ZS, and the last decade, last 10 years have been with various startups, Healthcart, 1mg, Stratmed, and at BeatO today. So I think big companies as well as startups give you the right flavor and the right exposure. Have been through various sectors to get an understanding about the various challenges which the HR function would bring in.
Thank you so much for that, and tell us a little bit about yourself as a person as well, so that the audience gets to know you a little better.
I think as a person, I would just like to add that I'm only somebody with a very strong grit and determination, and very passionate about the work that I do. I think that's how I feel, that passion. If you're passionate about something, everything else falls in place. You work hard towards it. You bring in the right capabilities. You acquire skills. You learn every day, and everything falls in place because you're passionate about it. You will go the extra mile in order to achieve things and do everything that is required and give your best. Look at the best potential that you can bring on the table. So in a nutshell, I'll say I'm nothing but a person who's absolutely passionate about the function, about HR, about people, and that just should reflect in the work that I bring.
Absolutely, and it does. I mean, it does reflect in all your interaction. I have had the privilege of interacting with you outside of our professional settings, and has been definitely comes across very clearly. So thank you so much for that. And in the meantime, I did ask you guys, what do you think onboarding is? And I did receive one response here from Anju, which is onboarding covers orientation and setting in of new employees in the organization. So can you tell us, Sugandha, if what Anju has shared here covers everything? So what is exactly onboarding?
So I think the way I see onboarding is that it is basically a process to familiarize the employees or new employees who are joining the company about the company's culture and integrating them into the team. So that's basically the onboarding. If I talk about onboarding, it is the path, or let's say the journey when a candidate becomes an employee. So in a nutshell, how you welcome the person, what is that 1 day feeler, the D-Day feeler that he has, and various things around it. And onboarding today in today's world has just gone miles ahead of from what it was in the past. So 20 years back when I joined the workforce, I think onboarding was perceived as what you do on D-Day. Today it is multifold. It might just be 30 days to 90 days to maybe 12 months for companies altogether. It's basically ensuring that the person excels in his work and we are able to retain the employee, the new hire. So putting together, I think it should definitely cover and ensure that the person is familiar to the company's culture, the structure, the vision and mission statement of the company. It should also bring together familiarize the person with the company's product and the services, or the services. Thirdly is it's ensuring that the person knows about the leadership, about the founders, the CEO, the leadership team, and the cross-functional leaders as well. Then comes the departmental orientation, and it's a very big dilemma to confuse somebody with orientation and onboarding. So a very healthy difference, and maybe we can speak during the course of the interaction about it. But a very detailed orientation about the function that he would be joining. So like greater understanding and go deep into making the new employee understand about the function that he's joining. Fifthly is maybe helping him understand that what is he expected to bring on the table. So he has the capabilities, he's been evaluated on the skill set, on the attitude, on so many other things during the interview processes. But what is the company looking forward or expecting out of that individual? A very strong clarity about his role into the company, his KRAs into the company, and then expectation setting around it. And lastly is providing him all the tools, all the resources, all trainings, all knowledge in order to excel in the work that he's expected to do. So I think with if an organization covers all of this, it is ensuring that the person very confidently understands the expectation and is able to deliver. And there is no disclarity, or let's say dilemma in his mind in terms of what my first 30 days or 60 days or 90 days will entice. So that's, to me, is onboarding. Basically, it is, when he goes back after spending those 8-10 hours at work, or maybe in a hybrid or a remote setting, the wow factor that the person should feel, at the end of the day, is what for me will be a successful onboarding exercise. Ensuring that the person has evaluated various offers, and in today's world, of course, he might have accepted your offer against so many others. So reconfirming his belief that yes, he has made the right choice, ensuring that the person is emphasizing that he's made the right choice of joining the company, having that wow factor at the end of the day, that this is my place and I am going to be contributing hugely to the success of of the company and the organization.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Very beautiful put. You're absolutely right how onboarding has changed, of course, in 20 years, but also I think onboarding has changed a lot just in the past 3 years, right? With respect to just how the pandemic has changed things. I would like to pick on one thing, which is that as, for a layperson, I think onboarding is very simply, okay, I come in, I share my bank account details for the salary, I'll share my PF number, I will, get a laptop, maybe just meet some people, but that's about it. But clearly, it is so much more than that. Could you give us a few more specifics of what an onboarding, maybe just at BeatO or in general, if there are any specific things that are usually conducted, whether there are specific sessions or specific interactions, practices that are followed for onboarding?
So, over the years, I think I have just ensured that we follow certain best practices. And of course, my way of looking at onboarding is to ensure that we follow the critical ingredients of what we call as quote. So quote is basically C standing for the culture of the organization. So ensuring that the person understands that what is the value system, the culture of the company, integrating the new hires to understand the mission and the vision statement of the company. So C is for the cultural aspect and his understanding around it. O stands for basically the objectives, why he is being brought, what is his expectations of the job, and ensuring that what is the company's expectation for him to deliver. So I think there is a huge emphasis on the fact that the expectations should match in terms of his hire and his expectations about the company. So ensuring those objectives are met. A stands for basically all the administrative part. So there is a lot of portals, access, paperwork, digital modes of data that would be required for that person. So that happens, of course, in today's day in terms of pre-onboarding as well as on the D-Day. So ensuring that the administrative part is cleared off, less of paper and more of tech help that the company can use. And T stands for basically team, ensuring that the person now becomes familiar to the team, integrate him so well that he understands that the people that he's going to be working with, his colleagues, cross-functional, the leadership, his connects with the founders, all of this would ensure that, the program is wholesome. The process is something which is very structured, and it finally gives a wow factor to the individual. So for me, the quote principle has to be followed in while anybody designs the onboarding program.
I hope everyone who's joined us has made a note of this principle. I think it's a very, very it's really well put how that those 4 letters seem to cover everything about onboarding. Tell me a little bit about, I think you already touched upon it, but in general, why is onboarding important? Not, for a business's success as well as the person's success.
So I think onboarding is your first, step of making the candidate turn into an employee. As I've already mentioned, it's a journey from a candidate to an employee. So the first impression definitely counts, and it goes miles ahead for the person to frame a perspective about the company. So it's like your first step. It's absolutely important. And 2 major reasons that I feel a good onboarding process really helps is, one is ensuring that the person excels in the work that he's required to perform. And that would, if that is taken care of, the person ends up being an engaged employee, and rest everything will, we've already know about so much about having an engaged employee vis-a-vis a disengaged person. So I think an engaged employee would lead to so many other benefits for the company. So the first and foremost is he excelling in the work that he is doing. And second is retainment of that talent for the company. So these 2 things, a good onboarding process can definitely take care of. And once you have an engaged employee, I think there are a lot of metrics and a lot of data But just to put together, it's said that a good onboarding process will ensure that that almost your 50% of your employees are there retained with the company. So your half of the battle is won in case you are able to have a good and a structured onboarding. Similarly, if you have something which is uh, which is uh, which is not so great, which is poor experience on the D-Day, then maybe there are people who might have different opinions, different counter effects of it, of leaving, and it's generally after years of research we know that 1 out of 10 employees leave just because of a bad onboarding experience that they've had. Or the other way of putting it together is 87% of the employees would actually stick down if there is a good onboarding process and his first 90 days are taken care of, so that he has a longer tenure, or at least say 3 years of tenure with the company. So those are just a little bit statistics after years of research, which gives us an understanding that a good onboarding will ensure that the person is well acclaimed into the company. He understands about the culture, and the most important part is that they are brand ambassadors for you. They are they are your brand ambassadors. They are taking this information to so many others. They are taking it outside, and in today's world, that's the best exercise which the company, or that's the best employer branding exercise that the company can really wish for and take care of.
Absolutely. And would you have any example of an actual real world example that you have seen where, uh, an excellent onboarding process actually led to this? As in, is there an example that you could use to illustrate this?
So there could be so many things that I've seen across these years with different firms. I'd like to mention maybe at Tata's that the first day itself is with ensuring that you understand the legacy that the organization brings in. For startups, I've seen BeatO with the way we are doing in terms of making the person understand the fast pace, the growth environment, and the huge potential of learning that one can take care of. So these things really help an individual because they know that the company is going to invest in their learnings. And what more can an individual ask for when he's joining a new firm, to get an understanding that the company is backing you all times, and working towards your skills and your growth and your competencies enhancement, and will go that extra mile to make you successful in the role. So I think just reassurance on that belief will go leaps and bounds, because it will ensure that the person trusts the company, and everything else will fall in place.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Just to remind everyone who's here with us, we are in conversation with Sugandha Jain, who's the VP HR at BeatO. We are talking about how to onboard new hires in the right way. And we will be opening the floor for your questions at the 4:30 mark. So please keep your questions ready. You can share them with me over chat, or you and I will share them. Or if you would like to directly ask Sugandha a question, then please just raise your hand. There's a raise hand feature in Zoom. Raise your hand. I'll ask you to unmute. You can unmute yourself and ask the question. Right. So coming back to your experience, you mentioned Tata, you mentioned BeatO. Can you share some specific practices that are a part of the onboarding process?
So again, some best practices, if I could really mention, is that ensuring that the person on the D-Day is actually given a very warm welcome, as well as made to feel again reassurance on his belief. uh, One great thing that we do at BeatO is ensuring that the person meets up with the leaders, the founders, uh, and is understands about the larger group and the close knit family at BeatO. So that really helps, because then the cross functional information sharing, knowledge sharing really helps and takes care of. The second part is we also ensure that there is a mentor which is assigned to every, like a buddy and a mentor which is assigned to every individual who's joining in. That's extremely important because there will be so many things that a new hire would be required to know. Howsoever, he might not get a chance, we might not be so explicit. So just giving him that benefit that he has one buddy, one mentor that he can really go to, and ask as many questions, clear off all the doubts that he might have. So that just helps because it has a very positive influence on the new hire. He also are able to understand and maybe understand and get more acclaimed into the new environment that is there with the new company. So a very positive influence, somebody, and the mentor is somebody who is like the star performer of the company. So it's kind of a ripple effect because one good hire will definitely lead to the other one. So it is like a chain that we are building at BeatO. Third and extremely important thing that we are doing is that we celebrate early wins. So, the new hire needs to be recognized in terms of the early things that he or she is, kind of being able to crack to. So, ensuring that there is, uh, that it's very inspiring for that individual. All his wins, all his progressions are kind of celebrated, announced, and we ensure that the person is acknowledged and recognized to every level of work that he is doing. Fourth is, of course, very, very clear expectation setting about the role. So, we don't leave any stone unturned in order to make him understand the role that he is to deliver. And the clarity and the clarity on the role and expectations really does wonders. He knows that what is his role, how does he cascade it down to the set of employees that he's working with, and he becomes an effective and a more efficient team member. So those are some things that we do. And of course, all the other sessions of meeting up with other star performers, meeting up with leadership, getting a chance to have a coffee with the founders, are again certain good and healthy practices which we are following at BeatO.
And tell me something in terms of onboarding, the duration of onboarding. Is there a standard period that the whole onboarding process goes on for this duration and starts, say, I'm sure it doesn't start on D-Day or the day that the person joins, right? I'm sure it starts maybe days, weeks before that, and then usually goes on for a certain duration. Is there a standard duration that it goes on for, and when does it really start?
So we generally start immediately after the offer is rolled out. So till the time the interview process is going on, we are not very sure in terms of whether the offers would go or not. But once the person has been given an offer, an intent to join the company, and on his acceptance is where the pre-onboarding formalities would start. So there would be a lot of things that the recruiter will ensure, the TA team will ensure that they connect usually every alternate day to check on the individual, to find various other reasons of reaching out, to ensure that there's a healthy connect engagement with the candidate till the time he onboards, which will ensure that he's providing a lot of copies of his educational educational certificates, his pre-joining formalities of background checks. A lot of other things will ensure that he has a good experience. It is going to be clutter free and paper free on his D-Day. We don't give him any sort of paper to fill in on the D-Day because that's not something that we are building. We are a tech company and we would want to strongly believe into that process. So he comes absolutely with nothing on the D-Day, just with a smile is what we want to greet. And it's very beautifully said that people do not remember what they hear. People do not remember what they speak, but they definitely remember how they're made to feel. So I think hugely believe into this, and we at BeatO would want to practice it, ensure that the person gets that wow factor, is hugely respected for the time that he's spending, and having an enriching experience as the journey starts.
Absolutely. And I think every single one of us who's present here, whether it's me or any other people who are attending this, can completely relate to that. The very first days, I think for a lot of people, and even the statistics say the same, for most people, it is a make or break in terms of what future they foresee for themselves in that organization. So yeah, absolutely. Tell me a little bit about how what is okay, how has onboarding evolved in the past 3 years, given the advent of large scale work from home and large scale hybrid uh, work model, and technology being adopted a lot more in terms of HR processes as well. What do you see? What are some of the changes or evolutions that you've seen in onboarding in the past 3 years?
So I think it's evolved. I mean, the entire work arena has evolved immensely in the last 3 years. Uh, right from ensuring that the person, or let's say we've seen the great resignation period where, so much in the first quarter of this year, we've seen the great resignation with, so many offers, unprecedented. All this was unprecedented, never thought about that, at least at India, we would see something like this. Of course, globally, there has been a talent crunch, but in India, it was immense. And, so many offer dropouts that companies and recruitment teams were facing. So with onboarding, it is very, very important, or let's say the pre-onboarding became hugely important in that circumstances, because everybody that the TA team would be reaching out would be holding almost 10 offers. And those are, offers not to the extent of a 20, 30, 40%, but maybe 100% rise. And it is something that was happening all around. Slowly, I'm sure this is getting evened out, but that led to the onboarding practices being changed. How do you really woo an employee to join? It's just not monetary, because it's very easy, and you will, as an organization, nobody will be able to compete against from one offer to another. Of course, there is a healthy comparison that one would do, but you will always have your budgets, and you will always have a yardstick that you'll have to stick by. So what more can you do to ensure that there is a good impression about the prospective company that the person is intending to join? And that is where, at least in the startup spaces, there are lot many new things which came on board. Sending across joining kits, ensuring that the person has a great feel about get associated with the company. It just becomes difficult. If you have an Apple laptop sent across to an employee, maybe he will think twice if he wants to back out. That's some sort of strategy that at least at startups we were using. And secondly is ensuring that the person is hugely connected. There is a lot of pre-engagement which never used to happen earlier on, started happening with the recruiters, reaching out every alternate day to teams, to candidates, looking at various reasons of reaching out. We also ensured that one more healthy practice that we started was that in that pre-joining period, the person would receive an email from the founder. This used to happen at joining, or maybe in the first week of joining, where the founder used to personalize right to an employee. But now here it was happening in the pre-joining days. This was again to ensure that the person feels connected, is engaged, and looks forward to joining a team which is opening its doors and arms to welcome him. Uh, Fourthly, I'll say that it also was a joint responsibility. you know I think gone are the days when it was just the recruiter and the HR team looking forward to getting the person onboarded or getting him to join the company. Now it is a joint exercise, and it's hugely a big round of applause to the BeatO team and to the leadership, where every leader ensures that they are equally participant of getting the team member into the company. So the department heads or the functional heads, the hiring managers would also participate in order to make a call, check about how the person is feeling about on his joining? Is there anything that we could do better? Has the HR team done a great job about it? Is there something that has been left open or he still requires clarity on? And of course, in the first week or first 10 days, giving him more healthy tips about how can he be successful at BeatO, sharing snippets, some videos which gives him an insight about what is the culture, the life at BeatO, and going forward, how can he be successful, how can he be a star performer. So he's been a performer, he has been hired for attitude and for skill set, but what is that one thing that will ensure that he becomes from a good performer to a star performer, to a be able to look at his entire potential, bring the best out of him onto the table, be more connected to the company. Engagement would definitely ensure that the person enjoys his daily affair, he's happy about spending those hours, and go that extra mile when the company would require it. And at startups, that the pace is extremely high, so the growth is immense, for an individual, for the company, and you have to run through the pace of the organization.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, it's amazing how all of this has really demonstrated the creativity of HR as well, because this evolution was basically thrust upon everyone, right? You just had weeks or maybe even days to really come up with all these processes when the pandemic started. So I think hats off to everyone, the HR community, and to you for to making this happen. Uh, I want to open the floor to the audience. I do already have one question, but before that, I have another question that I wanted to ask you was, um, does onboarding involve only the HR team and say just the hiring manager, or are there more people involved? Or let me rephrase it: if it is not being done, who are the stakeholders that should ideally be involved in the onboarding process from the organization side?
I think one and all who's been a participant or will be a participant to the work life of an individual are all the stakeholders. So across levels and across teams, we ensure that when the person is joining in, everybody whom he would be actually working along, be it the hiring manager, be it somebody from the team, not everybody, but at least some people from the team who he could speak, who could understand, somebody from the cross team, cross functional teams that he would be closely working with or listening with, somebody from the leadership, maybe not only his functional head, but a cross functional head, who would give him a little understanding about how things and work happens in the company, the founders of the company. A personalized note coming from the founders even before you join means a lot to an individual. It just goes to show what kind of culture the person would be getting into. Giving him it could be stakeholders, like assigning a mentor, or even before the person has onboarded, he can check about maybe softer stuffs that he would not be able to check with anybody else. uh, why do we want to rely on a Glassdoor or an Ambition Box or any other social media platforms when you have somebody assigned within the company that you could reach out to? And why assign one? There could be multiple stakeholders that one a person can really go to. So I think the canvas is really vast. The HR team can really have as good as and as many as 10 individuals that the person can speak with. That will also ensure that he turns from a potential hire to a definite hire for
To a
us.
definite hire. Yes, absolutely. Great. So I have a question from Manu, from our audience. Hi, Manu. Thank you for sharing the question. And I already kind of touched upon this, but in case you want to add anything, which is, what are the best ideas you've implemented or heard of while onboarding people virtually? How do we create the wow factor in such cases?
So I think all of us are evolving and there is no shortcut to it. I think we've all evolved. Pandemic actually gave a lot of ideas. A lot of startups have implemented great ideas about ensuring that the onboarding and other engagement tools are used. The use of technology has immensely helped, to have a stronger experience altogether. I think chatbots is a very great idea of ensuring that the person is able to connect with, with a tool which will help understand what are the things which are running in his mind, what are the things that we need to cater to. So that's one very important area that companies can really invest into. Second is virtually there has to be more. So I'll give you an example. The way I do at BeatO is we ensure that while the recruiters are connecting with individuals or the hiring managers are connecting with individuals, and it was a tough time when people were not able to come to office. It was all hybrid. Uh, we used to ask the individual to bring in a cup of coffee and ensure that there is a virtual coffee session which is happening. Maybe talk to him about how his day has been going, how is he spending the last days with his current firm. That also gives a more understanding about he or she as a person, his individual parameters. And that would also help the recruitment team understand that whether the person would is he passionate about something else beyond work, would be a definite hire, how is he spending that time. And it gives us an idea about whether he or she would be intending to join or is still shopping offers. So I think those personal connect ensure that there's a face-to-face connect. After all, at the end of the day, we are all humans, and that touch and feel was not there during the pandemic. And it just helps when it is there on a video call, vis-a-vis a phone call, or maybe just when the video is not there.
Yes. I hope, Anu, that answered your question. Please feel free to share if you have any follow-up question. Also, if anyone else has any questions, please do share. We still have about 12 minutes left in this session. So we would love to get your questions. I want to ask, I think, a very pertinent question, which is, what are some common onboarding mistakes that companies make? Anything you've observed or in your experience, maybe not in your own organization, but in other organizations, because we do keep hearing all kinds of stories that, so what are some common mistakes you think people make or companies make, sorry?
No, I think we all make mistakes and we learn from them. So we've made a healthy share of mistakes. I've made my healthy share of mistakes and learned through them. So I'll not call it mistakes, but yes, experiences and certain things that we can avoid while we think about onboarding is that not to have something which is unstructured. You cannot always say that you do not have the time and the structure around around something which is very important. Like, it's the first impression that the person is making about the company. And you can't always blame it to lack of time, paucity of time, or in order to have a non-structured or missing elements to it. That's extremely important. The second part is to not have, there should not be too much information outflow that would happen. Like, sometimes I see there's too much information flow which is happening on the D-Day. The person is all ears and will be with you for eternity. Please give some time to that individual to let that information sink in, to digest what he's been given. I think too much is not good. Excess of everything is bad. So just have a healthy balance there is important. Thirdly is not to, just to have that responsibility put on to the shoulders of the HR team is also not fair. It is equally a responsibility to be shared between the hiring managers, the functional heads, the leadership team, to be a participant. HR team is an enabler between getting a candidate to an employee for the company, but it needs partnering, and a very, very strong partnering. Fourth is, I think, to very strongly ensure that the person understands the in clarity about what he has to deliver. You know, anything around which is unclear in terms of goals or expectations, or the job scope which has been defined is either underplayed or overplayed, would not make sense. So let's have a very, very strong understanding about what he has to deliver in terms of the work deliverables. If that can be more objective, it will really help. At times it has to be qualitative or subjective, then precisely 3 or 4 5 things that he needs to achieve, maybe around the 30 days, 60 days, 90 days timelines, so that he knows and he can prioritize accordingly. uh, Fifthly, I think give him all the resources to become functional. The company has a lot of information, a lot of products, a lot of services. Like a healthy practice that we do at BeatO is that we have the glucometer, the small device which we gift it to every new joinee, so that they can use the product. They know about what the company is doing. They know and they can have a feel about it. That way it leads to a better experience in terms of when they're dealing with customers. It ensures that there is better quality of work because they understand what the company is putting across. So it's just that it's very important that there are all the tools, all the resources, all the knowledge which are available to the candidate, to the employee on his D-Day, so that he understands what he is. At the end of the day, he's your brand ambassador.
I think that's so well put. I covered every aspect of it. I have come to my last question, and I'm guessing that no one else in the audience has any question. In case you do, please, we still have about 3 minutes. Please feel free to share them with me in the chat or just raise your hand. My last question is very simply, any books that you recommend that people can read around this? Or it could not, if it's not a book, maybe any thought leader you think out there who writes well about onboarding that people can follow?
I think there could be multiple leaders that we can think of. Uh, from my perspective, I just ensure that you are updated with so many seminars, so many workshops which keep happening in the HR space, and that really keeps you abreast of the best practices which different companies are following. Uh, I hugely recommend Leena Nair because I follow her. So, she's one person who's actually brought it to the global arena of being the HR head, and then turning into a CEO. So, huge kudos to her. She's been my mentor for so many years. So I think I follow her footsteps, and so can everyone.
All right, guys, remember, Lena and I, that's what you need to follow. Awesome. I think we are at the end of the session. This has been absolutely wonderful. If any of you agree with me, please do raise your hand. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have to see all hands raised ideally. I hope you enjoyed this session. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And thank you so much, Sugandha, for giving us your time, giving us your afternoon today on a weekday. And we are going back wiser from this session. So thank you so much.
I'm hugely honored, and I think I greatly enjoyed the session. I look forward to the association which BeatO and Masai have had all these years. Great luck to each one, and after all, it's the people's function. So kudos to everyone.
Thank you. And thank you all of you who joined us today, who gave us your time this afternoon. Just to remind you, we will be back next week again. Ideally, we are back every fortnight, but this time we're doing it 2 continuous weeks. So next week we have Ms. Meera Kumari, who's the global head of HR at Airmeet, who will be talking about common mistakes in HR that startups make, as well as how to ensure psychological safety. So please do join us for that as well. Stay tuned. We will email you about that session as well. Thank you so much to you. Thank you so much to Sugandha, and have a great weekend ahead. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you, Suyash. Thank you, everyone.